everybody. This is another episode of XenoChat, a Xeno-themed podcast that focuses on Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade and beyond. I'm one of the hosts, Tyler, along here with my co-host, Justin.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, and we got two guests today. Our first guest is back from our Xenogears and Melia episode, and that is Kat.
Hello.
Alright, and returning from our one of our episodes we did a long time ago is Pure.
Hello there. Thanks for having me back.
Sweet, yep.
Back by popular demand.
Yes, thank you for coming back. So today we don't have any new guests, so we'll probably just go into our news first, and then go into our topic today, which is myths and misconceptions about the Xeno series. But first, news. I was really fearing about there not being any news, but then yesterday they showed off the Cosmos RE figure, and I am so excited about that.
Yay! I'm happy for y'all.
I'm happy, but my wallet's not happy.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared about what the price will be.
Yeah, if the Mithra and the Pyra are anything to go by, it won't be pretty.
How tall is that figure?
You're not going to look at that again. I think it had a pretty decent size.
In Lugal Banda's chat, somebody linked an official store, Square Enix store link. Somebody put they are putting a portrait of Sophia on the official Square Enix store for about something like $400. It's ridiculous.
Oh.
Yeah, for the 21st anniversary.
Oh yeah, that was not planned that we were recording on the 21st anniversary of Xenogears, but hey, here we are. Happy birthday.
Happy anniversary. Yes, happy birthday.
We can finally buy it a drink.
But yeah, that's really weird, but $400.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, so two really expensive Xeno things is what the only news I could really think of. Besides, because I haven't really heard any news from Monolith Soft themselves about anything new in the works or anything like that.
No, there is a Nintendo Direct coming out in a couple days, I think. But who knows if there's going to be anything announced there.
Now, is that official, or is that still just a rumor?
I thought someone confirmed it, but I could be wrong.
My uncle, who works at Nintendo, confirmed it.
Yeah, basically.
Well, there's
I just saw something on Twitter, so I didn't bother to check if it was true or not.
The art book comes out in like a day and a half.
Oh yeah.
Is that with the delay? Or
that's with
without
the delay.
It? Oh, that's with the delay, okay.
Okay, sweet.
I honestly forgot.
I'm sorry, what?
I honestly forgot that it was still coming my way, because when that link went up the first time, I slammed the button. So my pre-order is gotten, and hopefully it will get to me before my birthday, and that'll be nice. But the way I process pain is I order something and forget about it until I get it.
Well, nice. Congrats. I look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you'll be getting it soon.
Yeah. I think it's still the 12th, unless they move it back. But yeah.
Okay.
But I did order it direct off of Amazon JP, so it is coming from Japan. So I do have Japan shipping time or whatever.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other Monolith or Xeno related news?
Nothing I'm allowed to say.
So I guess.
Okay.
Huh. Look at you with that secret info.
Why do you know what you know, Pure? Pretty sure you can't answer that, but
I kind of said on the other episode, but it's nothing interesting.
Okay, all right. I'll have to go back through that audio, because I think I fell behind listening to things because work picked up for me. So I still have to go back through your second episode to find that.
Oh, well.
What second episode?
Oh, well.
Well, actually, we can probably say this now, but hopefully by the time that this episode is up, the second part of Pierre's episode will be out.
See, I should have made a list of that.
But then when is the Melia episode coming out? See how weird our timeline is?
At first I was like numbering episodes before they came out, but now I just call folders just like the Melia episode, or because otherwise I've gotten the numbers all mixed up.
Well, think of it this way. Now, like when we do this, our 5 fans will not know when we record.
Oh, see, what if this goes up before those, and you just spoil that there's a Melia episode? Because I totally forgot like what you were doing, because I have been so busy since we recorded the last one, which is partly why the second part took so long to get out, that I just haven't had the chance to even like listen to any of them. Like that's how busy I've been. It's been terrible. Yeah, well, October's always busy, and then November hit, and like, I don't talk about my personal life too much, but it's just, it's been hell. Like, it's getting a little better, but it has been so busy, constantly, just constant.
Well, hopefully you'll get a reprieve soon. I totally know what it's like to be stupid busy. We have overtime kicking up for my job, and I'm just going to be completely offline for all of March, probably. So that won't be fun.
Well, March is when, because I put basically all of my Xeno projects on hold, and I'm working on something more specific. I'm working on one Xeno thing right now, and I put everything else on hold. So March would probably be the month where I'm really working on that. And it's weird. I'm actually excited to work on it, unlike everything else. It's very strange to be excited to work on something Xeno related, but it's definitely it's actually quite different from everything else I've been working on. It's a lot more creative, I guess. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people like it. So I don't want to say too much though.
Okay.
I totally understand.
All right. Okay. Well, then, let's not speak of old episodes. Let's speak about today's episode, which is today we're focusing on myths and misconceptions about the Xeno series. So
known as rumors and lies.
I think this is, that talking about production was one thing. This is like, you ever have that moment you're just outside and maybe you're buying some groceries or something. You just think of something that makes you genuinely upset.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Well, and your day's just ruined. You're just walking through those aisles, you're buying those oranges, and you're just in a bad mood for some reason. You have no idea why.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah, that's me with these weird misconceptions. These things are... there's a reason why I don't join any Xeno communities, because something's gonna pop up, and it's gonna be completely innocent, and I'm still gonna somehow just be put in a bad mood. So it's just... Oof.
Totally understand. Totally right there with you for most of these.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason why I wanted to do this episode, because I was listening to a podcast. I don't know if I should mention the name of the podcast, but it was just like, it was about Evangelion, and it was like, I like Evangelion, so, it's like one of my favorite animes, so I was like, oh, this is an interesting podcast discussing Evangelion, and then all of a sudden at the end, they just like said, Xenogears was a ripoff of Evangelion and wouldn't exist without Evangelion. I was like, what? It's just like,
no.
I was just going along, and this is a pretty good episode, and then you just fart at the end like that. Just let out that fart, and I'm just like, what? Yeah.
What's the logic behind that? Like,
it's got religious symbolism and robots. It's got to be the same. Total ripoff. I mean, if your thing, you know what? I guess G Gundam's a ripoff of Evangelion, because it's got God Gundam, it's got Devil Gundam, and giant robots and literal religion. I get. Oh wait, no.
Total ripoff.
Which one came out first? Now I have to remember which one came out first. I think G Gundam came out first. I know you've got some explaining to do, because apparently it's a ripoff, because it's got religion and robots. Wow. Well, I do have, I guess I should clarify with the audience, so I guess we could play a little game here for this,
yes.
For this episode. So I have a big list. Well, it's not as big as I was planning on it being, but I'll probably remember more things as I go along. But I have a big list of misconceptions and just things that were painful to actually type out on my computer.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, I'll ask, what if you guys think it's, true or false, because some of these aren't necessarily false. I think that's what the interesting part of this. So,
okay.
The first one is basically, I actually wrote this down first, knowing that this was essentially the reason, because I saw you tweet, Tyler, about the Evangelion thing. So I put this one first. Just this is Xenogears Evangelion supposed connection or whatever. It's just, I know. I don't know when the last time you watched Evangelion was. I haven't watched it in over a decade, so it's
Same.
It's been a while.
I think it's been a year or two because of course, I love it when I force it onto other people and have to watch it with them. So it's been like a year or two.
Well, I guess we could start with your take on it, because I know you're a big fan and you've seen it more recently, and I know you've seen the rebuilds. I've never seen the rebuilds, so that's even more things I'm out of the loop on. So,
I won't get into that subject.
So it's good that we have a fan here because it doesn't make us just a group of Xeno people griping about it.
Yeah, I do need to get around to rewatching. It's one of those. It's just been so long, and there's a lot of. I guess there's a lot of staff on it that I'm really familiar with. Shocker that I would like to see, more of their stuff and be able to recognize it more. I've always had have a lot of fun with that. So, but yeah. So what's your take on this Xenogears Evangelion thing? Why is it such a bad take? We all know it's a bad take, but why is it so woefully inaccurate?
Oh, well, because well, I'm gonna get all tongue-tied. Because because the way I see it, Evangelion has religious themes in it, but they're kind of, I don't want to say superficial, but they don't really serve too much of a purpose. Whereas with Xenogears, a lot of the religious symbolism and kind of like questioning religion or structured religion kind of has more impact to the story. No pun intended. But it.
I get it. I got it.
Second impact. Well, but also, like with Xenogears, it kind of has more of a. Well, I'm not going to say Evangelion doesn't have like a deep lore or anything, but Evangelion's kind of more of a personal story. Though Fei Fong Wong's story is pretty personal, but I don't know. It kind of goes more into the psychological aspects of it. But otherwise, a lot of it just basically, religion and giant robots. That's the only reason people kind of tie them together, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's my turn to speak, but the difference between the shape of the stories is huge. For Eva, it's all about Shinji's experience as a person and how he changes or doesn't change depending on the pain he's been under. Xenogears is a story about several different epics, about several different cultures, about several different types of people, and many, 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 many characters. So if I know a lot of people who have only seen Eva. I know a lot of people who have only played Xenogears, and usually people's opinions coming from what they like is, oh, I heard this rumor that Xenogears is just a ripoff of Eva, and I love Eva, so I won't play Xenogears because I'm so loyal to Eva. And the reverse is true with a lot of Xeno fans. It's like, actually, I used to be one of those Xeno fans. It's like, oh, I won't watch Eva. I hear that it's just sort of the same thing as Xenogears, and I've already played Xenogears, and I've etc., etc. But somebody talked me into watching Ava, and I did enjoy it. But it is very different. Yeah.
All right, so you know what? This whole thing about Evangelion is part of a much bigger issue with the anime community, in my opinion. Everything gets compared to Evangelion, and I'm like so sick of people going, "Oh, it's like Evangelion. Oh my goodness, Darling in the Franxx, it's like Evangelion. Oh man, Gurren Lagann, it's kind of like Evangelion. Oh, did you watch Psycho Pass? That's like Evangelion." It's like, I really hate that anytime something just happens to have any kind of psychological aspect to it, it has to be, it's like Evangelion. And I think that's exactly what's going on with Gears. They see the robots, they see the religious symbolism, they see the psychological stuff, they see the story that's, deep, and they think, oh man, this must be like Evangelion. It has to be inspired by it. It's like, why? Why does it have to be inspired by Evangelion? Like, I'm not going to say that the developers didn't watch it. It's possible that they might have seen it and was like, oh, that's kind of a neat idea. Maybe we'll do a take on it. But I just hate that every single time we see any kind of story that's just even barely resembling to Evangelion, it's just written off as a copy of it. And I think that's just so stupid. And I see that all the time with anime and with the anime community. And I just hate that people constantly make that reference to Evangelion, and it's so disappointing to me. And I feel like we could have a much more productive conversation about an anime or a game that's using those themes than just saying it's like Evangelion.
Yeah, I also see a lot of people saying, oh, if you've watched this, you don't need to watch that.
That's even worse.
No, there's no reason to. Yeah, there's no reason to watch less anime,
right,
to have less things under your belt. And I don't like critics because a lot of people just brush off certain properties and IPs because, oh, here's the cliff notes, this and this and this. Now you don't have to have
right,
this experience.
And to kind of add on to that, despite my rant just now, it's possible that Gears is inspired by a lot of anime of its time and of its era. 100%. I mentioned before that there's a scene in Gears, the G Elements transformation scene, that is very reminiscent of Galgagar, which was an anime that came out around that time too. I've made that connection before, but I don't sit here and go, that's a Galgagar ripoff because one scene just happens to be similar to it. I think that's just that's such a counterproductive thing. That's not a good way to analyze our work, to just see one little connection and then suddenly just be like, oh, it's a ripoff. That's just so dumb.
Yeah.
See?
Oh, I guess it's my turn to say something. It's hard to find. It's hard to articulate what I would want to say. If there's anything I learned about editing those podcast episodes, is that I'm not the best at ad-libbing compared to how I actually would like to. And maybe I'm just saying that because I'm I don't know, paranoid that someone will take what I'm saying and not quite get it, because I've seen that happen so much in this fandom. It's unbelievable. But with the Evangelion thing, it's I think a big reason why even now sometimes you'll see people throw the two together is because they both have this sense of they call it the mystery box. You don't know what's inside, you never know what's inside, and they both have that aspect to them to a certain degree. And it kind of gives them. Some people might feel like it gives it like a similar aura. That's probably a big part of why. It's a pretty superficial reason.
You know what? There's so many other works that do the exact same thing, which is kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't particularly think that it's really a good way to analyze works by just taking something that's so superficial, something that's even inconsequential, and then just immediately using that as your reason to say it's a ripoff.
Yeah. There's one more thing I want to say about it, but before that, I also want to point out that I'm not going to say that they're completely different. They do both have, a cast that deals with depression and is very focused on showing parts of that. And it does have characters making ugly decisions or saying things that they regret. That is something that both of those things do, so I could see why somebody might immediately latch onto that and say, well, they have stuff like that, and that's a big part of those two stories or whatever, but, and that's true, but it's definitely still, for me, when I think about it, shocker, I'm gonna boil it down to staff, to essentially the closest to numbers and facts that you possibly can, because apparently I'm a sociopath that can only break things down like this. But, and you boiled it down to the two directors and conceptualizers. Takahashi and Anno, there's so many things about them that are so different as directors. It's, like, unbelievable. There are so many things in Xenogears that I could tell you for a fact that Anno would absolutely hate. Because it's not the way he would do things. Like, you hear about how Anno, he has sometimes he has disparaging things to say about, like, sort of the anime industry and whatnot. It lies a lot in that. It's not to say that, that they don't have certain things in common, but trust me, the way they approach things is incredibly different. Like, I could literally do a whole episode just breaking that down, but I don't want to turn this into another, 50-hour episode and just go on forever and then say how I was only scratching the surface, like, because because I need to go see a therapist, apparently, to go talk about Xeno. That's what I need. I just need, I need like 10 years worth to just hear my nonsense. Either that or plug my brain into a computer and just download everything. There you go.
Yeah, I'm starting to talk about, with my new therapist, and I have to go very slow. It's just very fast and instant in my brain.
Well, just to clarify, I'm not actually going to go see a therapist, but if I did, okay, I'd probably, start screaming, Takahashi ruined my life or something. I don't know.
Same.
But that other thing I wanted to say was that supposedly, this is a rumor that has been around, this is still part of the Evangelion thing, that a staff member, I'm not going to say who, because that's another can of worms I'm not even going to touch right now, that said that supposedly a staff member said that they did not use Evangelion as an influence for Xenogears. Apparently someone straight up said that. But I do also need to clarify, there is zero evidence that this ever happened. Like, that is just a thing that was said, and that's all I'm going to say about it. There's no evidence. I kind of, I don't know what to think of that. It wouldn't shock me. If you were to ask, any of these people about it, they'd probably be like, no, or not really. Like, not, what wasn't really an influence. I know they would certainly say that. And that's all I'm going to say about it. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Like, either because it's another can of worms, or two, there's going to be a couple where I'm not even, there's stuff that I'm just not allowed to talk about, and that's going to be another thing. So, I take it you guys are okay with moving on to the next one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
All right, this next one, I really am not even going to bother asking whether you believe this or not, because it's one of them is a very common rumor. Not even rumor, it's matter of fact. It's true. And the other one was lesser known, but it's becoming more known as time goes on, is that Xenogears was originally pitched as a Final Fantasy game.
Oh, yeah.
Which everybody knows that. And I do need to say, actually, before, because there is something that's never actually been outright said about it. It's just like an internal thing. When it was originally pitched, there's a lot of things about Final Fantasy VII that wasn't really entirely thought out yet in terms of direction and whatnot. And you hear the reason that it was, quote, too dark and complicated. And this was also before Final Fantasy VII was as dark as it was. So I've always found that response to be kind of ironic now.
Yeah.
And the other part of this was that it was also originally going to be Chrono Trigger 2.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
What? I have not heard that one.
Oh, okay. Well, they were going to make a sequel to Chrono Trigger. It was literally called just Chrono Trigger 2.
Wow.
This was the game that Takahashi was going to be a big part of. And then it changed. Like that. That's the only reason why. Why am I forgetting his name suddenly? I'm losing my mind. The Chrono Trigger guy. Why am I forgetting his name?
Masato Kato?
Thank you. Wow. I was about to call him Masaki Sato, but that's someone else.
Oh no.
Wow. But yeah, wow, that's terrible that I can remember his name. That's embarrassing. And that's out there forever. That's
How dare you?
No, it's a...
You got,
We can
You
edit
gotta
it in
live with-
post.
no, it's too late now. You can't edit it out now.
He's got to live with it.
Yeah, I have to bear this pain forever. So that
It's
when
okay.
when my
Just
jaded
creating
perspective
pain for
turns me
yourself.
into a Xeno villain, I can say that was the moment. The moment I forgot his name was the moment where I went down this path.
It's never too late to turn back.
Well, anyway, so that's essentially really the primary reason why he's a part of the Xenogears project. Otherwise, because if I were to sit down and break down every little bit of Xenogears' production, you would increasingly realize how out of place he is with everyone else. His influence on that game is so weird. There's so many weird stories that you're never going to hear about it that are like amazing. So with Chrono Trigger, it just eventually, for one reason or another, it was going to be pitched as Final Fantasy instead. And then eventually there was like, you know what, why don't you just do your own thing? Why not just have it be your own game? And that's when it became Xenogears. The name Xenogears didn't even happen until way later. Like, everyone makes this big deal about the Xeno prefix. There was not that much thought put into it. It was just... like, Takahashi tried to give sort of an explanation that's completely reasonable, and I'm sure that was a part of it. I also have no doubt that the other part of it was Xenogears just sounds cool. I have no doubt that that's a part of it. Like, there's no way. But yeah, it did start out as Chrono Trigger 2, and then pitched as Final Fantasy, and then Xenogears. The game kept changing so much. Like, it was... I guess I could lead this into another thing. I didn't write this one down, but I guess.
I wonder if those ties to Chrono Trigger... I wonder if that's the reason why Luca appears in Xenogears.
Also makes me think about the different time periods in Xenogears. Like, this was Chrono Trigger, being able to jump between all the different time periods in Xenogears, like you can in Chrono Trigger. That's fucking cool.
That would have
I feel robbed now.
It might be, but it might have been like kind of inspired by maybe an idea that was pitched for when it was Chrono Trigger 2. That might, I could see that being it, but I don't know. That's another.
Yeah, that's all speculation
theory.
At this point.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I mean, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII, and Xenogears actually have a lot of weird things in common, just because they have like this weird connection.
They do, and it's like you can see it in some of the things. Like I mentioned, Luca. I know like FF7 has some enemies that are straight up 3D versions of Chrono Trigger enemies. Like I think it was like the frog enemy is like the same kind of. It's like the same model.
Oh yeah. Like the frog things with spears.
Yeah, the best way I could explain why that is, as short as possible, is that imagine you're a producer at Square. You got like your meeting with the other producers, and you have this big board, and you're just throwing a bunch of shit at it. and there's just like a Venn diagram for those 3 games, and some of those things are just in there for several of them. It's so weird. Sometimes it is a little bit like kind of like a wink and nod, but some of it is like just ideas that were left behind for some reason. I don't know why that is. It's such a mess that whole. It's weird that like those games turned out the way they did, because some of the producer decisions are so bizarre. For that like specific time period, it from like 95 to 98 is just so weird. But I think this is a good time to go to the next question.
Okay.
Which is Takahashi wanted Xenogears to be more science fiction influence than it ended up turning out. What do you guys think of that? Do you guys think that's true or not?
How do you get more science fiction influence than Xenogears?
Well, if you look at the best way to explain that is look at Xenosaga Episode 1 and look at Xenogears.
Okay.
It's
alright, so more pure science fiction.
Yeah, more,
and less. Okay.
We could call it hard sci-fi. That's what I like to call it.
Right, okay, I get it. Okay, yeah.
But do you guys think that's true or not? What do you guys think of that?
I don't know. Like,
That's
every time
one.
I think of Xenogears in my head, it's just all sci-fi stuff. And like even just now when you brought it up, I didn't even think about the soft sci-fi parts of it. But
And there's a lot of, if you look at certain, like, if you just show some screenshots of some people of certain parts of the game, they would think that it's like a more fantasy-based game with mechs in it. Like, if you show them some parts of it. Well, I guess I'll just say if it's true or not. This is actually 100% true.
Oh. So that's how, kind of why Xenosaga went the way, more hard sci-fi then?
Partly. The reason why Xenosaga exists the way it does is partly because of that. It uses... This is another insane can of worms that I don't want to touch too much, because this is one of those things that people will passionately fight you to the death over, and I'm not ready to do that just yet.
Not ready to roll into the ring.
It's not even. The problem is I want to do it and not do it in a way where I get someone killed. And that's how bad it is.
Thanks.
But with this, the reason, like, episode 1 of Xenosaga is Takahashi just wanted to do a very specific type of story, and that's why episode 1 is weighted specifically in, like, that section. And that's also why Xenogears has, like, its episode 1 section. You look at that, and it's like, that just seems like this weirdly, almost out of place science fiction story next to, like, compared to what you actually saw in the actual Xenogears game. And that comes from this, you can almost call it self-indulgence, that Takahashi really wanted to make a hard sci-fi story. That's what he wanted to do. And that urge, it kept growing and growing, and as Xenogears kept getting its, like, conceptualization, like, it kept progressing. It kept getting more science fiction, like, stuff thrown into it, and as the lore evolved, it became more and more like that. So, that's one of the reasons why he had no problem, just like, oh, well, I'm gonna use this part of an idea I had, and that's the thing, I want to do that right now. It was like a child with a new toy. It's not as thought out as some people think it is. Like, it is thought out, but it's like...
Yeah, like, I work with game devs, in my job, and a lot of when you're a fan of a game, and when you know a dev of a game, there's a huge separation, because the fan thinks that the game dev will think everything out, that he or she is master of whatever they make, and some people just make shit up or do stuff because it's cool. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
Not always that.
His Takahashi's producers made a bad habit of making it seem like it was more well thought out than it was, and that's why I've always, every time I see an interview and the producer has stuff to say there, especially if it's like stuff from the Xenosaga days, I'm always like taking, like, to me, I only believe it on the most surface level. Because it always, obviously, a lot of the producers for, like, basically every Xeno game, they're more influenced as, like, marketers and stuff, so they want to make it look as good as possible, so it's very complicated, and I know Takahashi has come more clean about it. As time goes on, he'll talk about how, oh, I get bored with the last thing I make, so that's why the next thing is so different, or he outright said about a year ago this time, saying that Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade were just sort of a product of what he just felt like doing at that very specific moment, and him just going with it.
Wow.
But yeah, that's sort of the reason. Like, I think even a good example of this is in Perfect Works, where Takahashi, he talks about the designs of the characters, and when he talks about phase design, he thinks it looks too, basically, like, look at Ellie's design, and then look at his, and Faye looks like a countryman.
Mm-hmm.
And Takahashi said, if I were to go back in this game and change something with the designs, he'd be he said something along the lines, he'd be the first one I'd change in terms of design.
Wow. I guess when you're working with so many people on a project, it's really easy for your initial idea to float away from what you initially wanted.
Yeah, but I think another part of it is that he wasn't even sure what he wanted.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, again, this goes back to something I said in part 2 of production. I'm not, again, very surface level way of describing it, but I describe Takahashi as, everyone thinks he's Stanley Kubrick, but he's actually J.J. Abrams and Sam Raimi. So, but I think that's enough for that little piece. There's the next one is my kryptonite, the one that, at least regarding Xenogears, I think this is the one that blows my mind, that people still believe this. It's just, I don't understand. I don't even know where it came from. I really want to know where it came from. Just so I can have some closure in my life. I'm gonna be in my deathbed, and I'm gonna be screeching about this. It's terrible.
Hear this.
All right, not even gonna ask if you guys believe this is true, because I'm not gonna insult your intelligence.
Okay.
Xenogears had its budget slashed because of Final Fantasy.
Oh, I wrote that one on our list. Yeah, that's totally believable.
You have no idea how much I hate this rumor. This is so, like, you have to, like, first of all, the person who said this, someone had to come up with this, or somebody had to say it first. And it had to be somebody with a lot of listeners.
Yeah.
It was like this person, to me, because you said this, and you've caused so much strife in the things I've read, I view you in the same light as, like, Scientology. It's so...
Oh, wow.
You have caused so much pain in my heart.
Because that one in particular has been spread out like crazy, and I've read it for years.
Yeah, it's been 20 years, and I still see it sometimes, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense that okay, first of all, this comes from the mentality that money is everything. Time doesn't matter. If you're like a map designer, it doesn't matter if I throw you in a room and design this entire room. If I throw you in a room for 2 minutes, you could still design this perfectly because I threw money at you. Like, I threw $2 million in your face, so clearly you can make this map in 2 minutes. It's obviously, that would have fixed all of our problems, just throwing money at the project.
That's how that works.
Going over budget, that's never happened. No, it was 1999 around the time this surfaced, and a lot of people were dumb as shit. By the way, I gotta ask, is there like a limit to the things I can say in terms of curse words? Because the last time I kind of restrained myself.
I say fuck every time I'm on here and nobody has chided me.
Well, yeah, it's fine. I think our Shion episode had the most curse words, but we're fine. We're fine.
Okay. Well, people, I get it. Not everyone knows how game development works. That's fine. I understand that. If you believe this at some point, back then, I kind of see, it's okay. It's okay if you believe that at some point. Before I even knew about this rumor, my friend told me that this was a thing that happened. He believed that. He might still believe it. I don't know. I don't even want to bring it up because,
It's that bad.
Yeah, it's me and Xeno, it's a problem. It's a... it makes me hate caring about things.
I totally get it.
It's turning me into Krellian, basically.
Totally get that too.
Yeah, this rumor is the equivalent of, like, I put it on the same tier as like, let's just say, you're 10 years old, you're on the internet, and you want to know how to unlock Luigi in Super Mario 64. And someone says, you gotta go into the room with the mirror, and you gotta do a ground pound on that one pillar 600 times, and then Luigi, he'll come out of the room, the mirror, and he'll say it's Luigi time, and then suddenly Luigi's playable. That's the equivalent of this. That's what this is to me. It's that bad. It's that bad. So, Takahashi actually was asked directly about this in an interview, like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
And he did say he mentions budget. Never mentions Final Fantasy VIII, obviously, because that's total horseshit. I don't even think he knows about that rumor, because this is like really in the West. It's not really a rumor in Japan. But
Pretty sure he may have heard it at one point. They didn't stick in his head.
I don't know if he's heard. If he did hear it, He probably laughed, and then he probably forgot about it. That's probably. I hope that's what happened. You know, I know he's definitely aware of some rumors. I know that, but I don't think he. I know he likes to watch people squirm over a mystery and what ifs. That's how he generates buzz.
Yeah.
So I think that's partly why he doesn't care that much. There are people that I know that have worked on certain games that they get some of the stuff drives them nuts. I could say that, and that's why ever since I've gotten to know some of these people, it's actually made me feel worse about this. Like as bad as I felt before, it's made me feel so much worse.
Oh,
jeez.
So Takahashi if you read that interview, he doesn't know. He basically says that a lot of the people were new, especially to like 3D modeling, and things took a while. So it was basically a rush job, and he does say that he had to spend the remaining budget on this too. So that there's something interesting concerning money about Xenogears, is that the game was originally going to have 3D models, and eventually they went with the sprite characters that I mean, obviously the mechs were 3D,
right?
And for cutscenes, that's when they went to the sprites. That's when Takahashi had a desire to use animated cutscenes. This interview, I believe, is completely lost, by the way, so you'll just have to take my word for it, but I know it's a thing. This is a thing he said. This is a thing that happens. This is 100%, this is some factoids that he actually had to ask for basically a change in budget for the project. So Xenogears' budget actually went up. It didn't go down, because he had to have a separate, essentially like a separate budget to pay Gainax for those cutscenes. So the idea that the budget was slashed it's even worse than you think it is. It's even worse. Imagine that. Like, just, let's take this even further. Let's go even further with this, because clearly the budget being slashed, that must be one of the driving influences of Takahashi leaving Square. He must have been so upset. Must have been a real toxic relationship with Square if they did something like that, man. Man, what a bunch of jerks. Like, what a rotten company. So, one of the guys that worked on Final Fantasy VIII went to Monolith Soft. He's one of the earliest members of Monolith Soft, and he's one of the most important people in Monolith Soft right now. And he didn't work on Xenogears. He worked on Final Fantasy VIII. And the idea that that just makes it worse. You'd think that they would just not do that. They just sit comfy and be like, I'm gonna stay at Square and I'm gonna work on these projects that get more money, better job security. And oh, by the way, that person's not here at XenoComi, by the way. So it's just like the more you look at it, the worse it is. It just gets worse. The more it's just. I think I need to stop talking about this, because this is another one of those things. Yeah, like let's move on to the next one. Every one of these, I could do a 50-page essay on, and just how the leaps in logic and the fact that people are so passionate about this misinformation. Or I mean, they're passionate about a lot of these, but this one is just shocking. There's no evidence of this. It's completely untrue. Please stop saying it, because I swear I'm gonna be in my deathbed, and I'm gonna say I'm not letting this go. You guys are still, to the end. You guys that keep spreading this are just, yeah. Right. Next one. There are no words.
All right.
As a stinger for this, though, I do remember being a teenager and FF8 coming out, and FF8 not meeting my expectations. So I think one of the reasons why it's become so wildly popular is between the fandoms of FF7 and FF8, there was a lot of salt. So that's how that rumor grew, I think. So, continue.
Oh, well, just in case if you didn't think fandom words were cancer enough, there you have it, folks.
Oh, I know of fandom cancer. Google FF7 house.
Oh, Jesus.
I am a survivor of FF7 house. Fandom is fucking cancer.
Oh my god. Yeah, well, I was gonna say, this is a Xeno podcast, so.
Yes.
Alright, let's move on to the next one.
Yes.
Let's
this next one is actually, we're still in the Xenogears section, but this is when we're crossing into the Xenosaga stuff. This one is interesting because there's some people who I've seen straight up say this as fact, without actually knowing the contents of it, which I've always thought was interesting. Just like the Chrono Trigger 2 thing, some people in the English-speaking fandom knew that before it was really well known at all, so that's interesting. But with this next one, some people are going to be confused by this because some people don't even know about this. The question I wrote here were Xenosaga characters Xenogears characters first?
What?
Okay, I gotta explain this one then. Okay, so before Takahashi and some of his other guys left Square, Tanaka uploaded some pictures of an upcoming game, and one of those characters. Well, it was only one character, and that character was Shion, and that was in 1999, which is quite a while before Xenosaga was even a thing. Yeah, it's well. There's an interesting thing about that picture, but I'll get to that in a minute. But so because of that, people have said, oh well, maybe Xenosaga characters were Xenogears characters first. That's they were planned to be a part of Xenogears or something. Basically, it's one of those. The real question is, do you believe that? And the other part is, do you believe that it was that well thought out? That Xenogears was so well thought out that was the thing?
Yeah, no.
You don't believe that? Okay.
No, I mean, 1999. That would be a year after Xenogears, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, then.
That doesn't math. It's not how time works.
Yeah, I mean, I could believe that they might have had like a concept art that they never used, and then they repurposed that. That's 100% believable to me. But
I need to point out that the concept art thing coming out in '99, that's a thing that happened. Takahashi was still Square when that came out. That's not the question.
Oh,
the question is that, does that mean that they were Xenogears characters first?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right,
because
so
that could mean anything. Honestly, that's really vague. If they
of course,
just haven't find it.
All right. Well, I do have the answer to this one. Well, unless it's always possible that someone will come out and really clarify more of it, but I'm incredibly confident about this one. I spoke to people about it, people who were, I'm always trying to find a way to gracefully say that I just know people that work on these games. That's the hardest thing to say. Because if I say it that way, it just sounds pretentious. But
you're so pretentious, Pure.
Yeah, I'm so pretentious like Xeno. Pure. No wonder you're on this podcast, Pure. You love Xeno, Pure. Stop, just admit it already. Stop being a son. Anyway.
Not like I want to be your IRL friend after this or anything. God.
So the answer is essentially no. You guys are right. The reason why is the time doesn't work. So Xenogears came out obviously in February in Japan and late '98 in America. And Takahashi was told around the time, about sometime between April and June, that he was not going to be able to direct another game because it just didn't, or at least he wasn't going to be direct like a Xenogears game. But you could basically boil that down to directing any game. I don't think it had to be Xenogears. I think they were just like, can you lead projects and stuff like that? Because you could argue that Disc 2 turned out the way it did because of Takahashi's planning, arguably. So, that concept art of Shion came out around sometime between August to September. That's around the time that was like made and posted. So that already doesn't match in and of itself. Takahashi was... that was around the time where obviously Takahashi had to plan out making a company and whatnot. And that was around the time when he was really conceptualizing like what he was going to do for his next game. Because I don't think he was ever really sure entirely. Like everyone says he was sure. It was always just up in the air. There was always some kind of idea, but it was never all there. So that's when he became... Because Takahashi doesn't like to conceptualize characters until a little bit later. He had his idea, and then he's like, well, I can only assume that he said, I want a character like this. And then he kind of worked on it from there. So, another thing that's sort of weird is that piece of art. Again, Takahashi is still with Square. There's no Monolith Soft. Namco's not really a thing yet, even though they know people there. Yet that piece of art, what a lot of people don't seem to know is that it's now, when Xenosaga came out, that art became officially regarded as Xenosaga art. So, like, if you go in, I think it's the data materials or whatever that book's called, I don't remember anymore. That art's there. It's in that book. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah.
Where I saw it. And the early Ziggy, and I think there might have been an early Momo.
I don't remember. I know that was a thing. I don't know if that's in that book or not.
You can get up right now and get the book one thing.
Well, regardless, I mean, it's not that important. The point is that that's not necessarily true. But I've seen people go as far as to say that certain character arcs were completely written in 1999, which is insanity. I've seen that from people who try to pride themselves as a reputable, like, bed of information, and I'm just like, are you insane? Like, I mean, and actually say that because I hate interacting with this fandom sometimes. Well, I say sometimes because I'm trying to sound nice, but yeah, that's woefully untrue. And I think we can end that there because the more we get into this, the more other things get clarified.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the next one.
Okay.
The next one's a hotbed. This one I put 2 and 1. It was originally just one question. Takahashi was fired from Square and Namco at some point.
Thanks, dog.
No.
The answer is obviously no. I guess the idea that he was fired from Square is because it's like, well, why else would he not stay with Square?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, no, he wasn't fired. He was already kind of tired of. First of all, working at Square is weird at that time. I don't want to get too into that, but it was weird. I've heard like major staff members say that they began to hate working at Square around like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was. I'm not saying that Takahashi hated working at Square at that time, but I do know for a fact that he used to get very opinionated with people that worked at Square. And I know that Takahashi himself thinks that there were probably some people there that didn't like him because he used to get in people's faces over shit.
Yeah, like there's
over the workforce.
In this business, there are a lot of creative personalities that tend to blow over, and it's just like the nature of it sometimes. And I've seen it happen in front of my face a couple of times where at my place of work. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say I don't think he didn't leave Square on bad terms, but I think he probably felt between everything that was going on and him making his first game, I think he had decided, I think it's time to, do my own thing entirely. And I think it just seemed like it was always something he felt like he needed to do. And it seemed like a lot of people wanted him to do it. Like Yasuki Han leaving Square is a big deal. And a lot of these other guys leaving was, like, Norihiro Takami leaving wasn't as big of a deal at the time, because Norihiro Takami's first major game that he worked on that was of any worth mentioning was Final Fantasy VII. That's not that long before Monolith Soft at all. Like, Monolith Soft he didn't join immediately because he was working on Chrono Cross. Mm-hmm. But well, actually, maybe he did leave early. I don't remember anymore. I'll have to ask about that. But yeah, if they even know, they might not even know. But yeah, but it was a big deal to see some of those guys leave. So I think a lot of people were probably wanting to leave as well. So it just seemed like a good time to do that. But yeah, it wasn't fired from Square. Namco, people assumed he was fired or removed from his position, even though Takahashi has outright said that wasn't the case. And that, well, he more or less outright said that he just didn't want to be in the director's chair anymore, at least for the Xenosaga games. Some people think that's weird. I think it's weird, but I don't think it necessarily primarily has anything to do with Namco. I think that's more, I do think he's completely genuine about saying, I want young guys to take over and to flourish. Because his company is still all about that. If you go to Monolith Soft, you're going to find a lot of young guys. Eiji Takahashi, he was the art director for Xenoblade 2, and he's done a ton of stuff before that. He often is like one of the guys that new guys will go to talk to and to learn from. That's why everybody likes him there. That company has always been into getting new talent and trying to sort of build your ranks based on new people, because you don't want to rely on the same old shit.
Yeah, people get burned out, especially with like crunch and stuff. But that's not the only thing. But like, if you dry out your talent pool and you don't grow the people that you have, you end up with a talent drought, and that's no good.
Yeah. So the idea that he wanted new guys to do stuff, that's definitely not untrue. But I do think. And again, this is weird. This almost sounds like me being negative about Takahashi. I'm not trying to be, but I do think a part of it is that he gets very tired of working on certain things for too long. And I think that was a moment where he realized, oh my god, imagine working on this for like 5 years. I'm going to lose my mind. And that's why you look at something like Xenoblade, it's so different, because he was just probably tired of, working on something like that for so long. He's probably sick of looking at, Xenosaga after a certain amount of time. So yeah, that's so him getting fired is not true. And I guess I'll be very brief about this, because I didn't write it down. People think Namco was responsible for a lot of the changes in Xenosaga 2 and stuff like that. That's not really true either.
Yeah, I never believed that, actually.
There was a new producer who got more involved, and that does have a little bit to do with it, but it's not nearly as much as you think it is.
Right. Because I remember that rumor, too, and it never really seemed right. Like, I never really looked into it, because I never really believed it to begin with, but yeah, I'm glad that you're kind of saying it now.
Yeah, it's... The thing is, the irony is that Namco was probably more involved when the first episode was around. That was when Nakamura was making... let's just say when he was around, contacting Model Self was a lot better between that company. The relationship was better. When he retired, Namco was weird. It was harder to communicate better because they were going through a lot of shifts. Unless you were working on like Tekken, because Harada is another animal entirely. You're probably production for you might be a little weird in certain regards. So I feel like that's another thing to clarify. The next one, this one is just. It's basically part of the same idea, but it's this one's, I guess, is more controversial for reasons that I'm sure everyone will know as soon as I bring it up. The other one was the idea that Soraya Saga was fired, which is technically not true. You could boil it down to this: you can't really fire a freelancer that's on a per contract basis. It just doesn't work that way. Some people might consider it being fired, but it wasn't really. Like, this is not how it was. But, I mean, let me put it this way. It's weird that I guess you could say that it was weird she wasn't brought on for like later stuff, but at the same time, you could also argue she was fired in the same way that Sawano was fired for Xenoblade 2, but obviously that's not a thing that anyone says.
Wait, who says Sawano was fired?
No one says that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's just saying that that would be like saying, "Oh, they didn't bring him back."
Yeah,
since he was a freelancer. Yeah,
I think so. Supposedly she used the word "fired" once, but then she changed that. I guess she probably realized it sounded maybe a little ridiculous. But yeah, that's just technically not true. Like, it's just there were writers for the first Xenoblade that weren't brought back for the other. For say like Xenoblade 2, like were they fired? No. Yeah, but again, I could see why somebody might think it's weird. I think that's fair, but it's not. It's so odd that they're willing to die on that hill, because trust me, you're gonna die a foolish man's death if you're willing to die on that hill.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, it sounds like just part of the contract. Yeah.
Yeah, like we have a lot of contractors, and their jobs end. They are not technically fired, and usually we ask for a lot of our contractors back if they do a good job. But if a contract ends, that's not the same as firing.
All right. So this next one is we're kind of going back into preposterous territory with this one. It's not as weird as Final. Well, you know what? It is. It's weird as Final Fantasy VIII one, but I guess it doesn't make me as angry because it's like it's almost adorable that someone thinks that Takahashi is this good at his job. So the script, or at least the majority of the script for Xenosaga, was finished at around 1999 or 2000.
Yeah, okay.
Whoa. Whoa.
Well, obviously none of you guys think that's true, thank God. But yeah, not true. What are you gonna say? I want to hear.
Well, like, are you meaning like when you say the script of Xenosaga? Like, do you mean all of Xenosaga, or Xenosaga episode 1 particularly, or?
Either way.
No, but yeah, like really, Tyler, it doesn't matter. Does it? I mean, it's insane either way. Like,
yes,
we're basically just like it's about as insane as saying like, is there a satellite right now that the government built that can destroy the Earth at this very moment? Versus, is there a satellite right now that the government built that can destroy the entire galaxy? They're both idiotic and just insanity, but. People probably believe that. There's probably somebody that believes that. There's probably several thousands of people that probably believe that. But but yeah, it's a no. Again, I know where the mentality of this comes from, and I'm not even going to touch it because that's my goodness, people.
I know that there are a lot of very passionate fans of Xeno, and a lot of people who give creators more credit than is actually due because they love them so much. Oh god, I'm so obsessed. I love this person. They did everything right, including like they can like pull the sun across the sky. That's why we have night and day.
Well, I think a part of the mentality comes from this. Aside from the fact that people are fans of these creators, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. You be a fan of whoever you want. I'm really not that much better. I have like, I think about like 5 baseball shirts in the past. I'm looking to my right just to make sure. I guess so I can confirm that. And over like the past 4 months, like just out of impulse. So yeah, like I'm a fan of things too. It's fine, but I think a lot of the mentality is that. I think of the first time he played Xenogears, so the first time he played Xenosaga, whichever one he played first, and think of a lot of people, they want to breathe in the magic. They get this feeling. It's like this. I use the word mystery box. That's what they call it. It's like wow. It just feels so big, and I feel so wowed. I've never, maybe you've never felt anything like that before. Maybe you've never felt like you played a world that, that felt so enigmatic and big, and it feels endless. People you sniff that. When you sniff that too much, it has some. It's like getting high. It has some effects. And some people don't think right when they're, buying into the hype. And they must think, wow, it's so well thought out. He must have, scripts for, 12 games in there. Like, wow. There's a whole universe in there. Takahashi must be, he must have this whole thing planned out. He must be... Because, again, he makes... It kind of looks that way to some people. And I think that's fair as an initial impression. But when you really... If you're going to really sit down and think about it, it becomes increasingly foolish, and the irony is that he's actually one of the most impulsive creators I've seen in a... Well, I can't say in a while, because I've, been playing this stuff forever, but, in a long time. Oh god, I'm gonna cough. Oh no.
Oh.
Oh no!
Oh no, that's gotta be edited out.
Oh no!
You're fine.
You see what people are doing to me.
Oh no. All these rumors are making you sick.
So my throat's getting dry. I don't usually talk this much. This is what this podcast does to me sometimes.
Okay.
So the next one.
Okay.
Were you going to say something more?
No, I was just going to lead us into the next one as well. Go on.
This one's kind of interesting, because there is something to found this one. Mm-hmm. So it might be true, guys. This could be it right here. one of these. Well, some of these are already true, like the Chrono Trigger 2 one. But obviously, we know that Xenosaga has 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people think that Xenosaga had as many as 4 parts officially contracted by Namco, but for some reason they just ended up doing 3, and then the 4th one, whatever plans they had for that one, when they were, even if supposedly like they had signed on to do that, like officially we have to make this. Apparently, for some reason, it just didn't happen. But there's the belief that supposedly they're going to do 4, but for some reason it was 3. Some people believe this, and there was an interview where they said, maybe we'll do. We could do 4. We're going to focus on 4 eventually. Mm-hmm. And when they said that, they weren't even thinking about doing more than 4, so they clarified. 4 is as far as we're going, as far as current plans, immediate plans, and then from there we'll decide what we're going to do. We don't know what the hell we're doing. At least this was after the first game came out, sometime around then. Either, I think it was sometime around that point. That's not the point. Point is, do you guys think this was actually a thing? Did that actually happen? Was it officially contracted? Do you think that was a thing?
I can't believe that, because every hook that they built into the previous Xenosaga games was resolved by the end of 3.
Okay, I do need to... Okay, I guess I'll clarify this right now. If we're gonna take that scenario, let me put it this way. During the development of Episode 3, nothing... When they planned out development, which was around like late 2004... Well, before that, actually. It was definitely before like 2004. But they were planning out things for a while. Mm-hmm. And you plan out a scenario for what you're going to develop at that very moment. So, speaking in terms of that, Xenosaga 3 really didn't have too much sort of cut out. Every game has something cut out. But it was kind of your standard, like, there weren't as many things cut out from, like, Episode 1, where you actually see, like, cut scenes in one of the trailers and stuff like that. And Episode 2 was also kind of like that, to a certain degree. Xenosaga 3 did not have that. That being said, if the 3rd game followed the old screenplay and wanted to explore parts of that story as much as sort of what the base scenario essentially had, Xenosaga 3 would probably have, let's just say it has 8 hours of cutscenes. Let's say it would have had like 14 or 15. So that you could have easily taken that and made it Episode 3 and 4. That's how much you could have done. Like if you think that game had a lot of character development, there would have been like 3 times as much. There's so many things that are just not. I mean, obviously it doesn't feel that way when you play Episode 3 because it feels thick anyway. It was going to be even thicker, but it just obviously that it's so impractical that it just never happened. So I do. So clarifying that, do you still think there would have been that Episode 4 was like a thing that was official at some point?
I'm still skeptical.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical on it too. Even though I know I've heard other rumors that Episode 3 would have wrapped everything up regardless, and Episode 4 would have been like a new alternate universe type of thing. I have no idea where that came from, but I've heard that rumor before too.
Well, I remember they said, I don't know if this is a rumor now, that the story was originally going to be in 3 separate parts, one being the Shion arc, and then 2 other arcs after that, with a total of...
Yeah, that's true, but there's 2 sides to this. There's that's true, and then there's the other side of, if you haven't properly... If the other things are so vague that they might as well not exist, that's why you never see me acknowledge it, just because it's like... If you... This is another one of those pretentious moments, but if you've seen the shit I've seen, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, you stop caring all that much about it.
No, I get it. I'm not sure if that makes me pretentious, too.
It's definitely kind of interesting, but it might not everyone's who might find it interesting. I'm weird. I'm that guy that, I'm that guy that salivates over a staff list and wants to talk about a staff list for a Monolith Soft game, but it can't do that right now until they reveal it. But so okay, I guess I'll say this. It's not true, but even though that interview did happen, there's a small chance that there might have been something kind of something that they agreed to that didn't fall through. But I could tell you that there was no like contract that was like, okay, yeah, we signed on to do a fourth one. I've seen people say that they read something that they said that they signed on to do for, but I can tell you that never happened.
Yeah. When I was growing up, I think I heard a rumor that Xenosaga in its entirety was going to be 6 episodes, but I never heard anything. Oh, this was confirmed at any point.
Well, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. There's even more ridiculous rumors. I remember one from back in, like, when the saga was coming out. I remember hearing a rumor that it was going to be 6 episodes, and that episode 5 was going to be a remake of Xenogears.
Oh,
yeah, I have heard one too.
Okay, there's again 2 sides to this. There's again, like always, there's just because these are theories that they exist in an intangible, sort of existence, kind of like the imaginary domain, but. But there's 2 sides to this, and it's the, it's so vague that it might as well not even exist, so it doesn't matter. You can't say it's actually planned because it's just such a weird thing. Also, so they had a good relationship with Square. I'm going to just say it. Square would not just sit there and say, yeah, you're going to remake one of our games to that level, or make it so similar to our game that, right. I mean, you could try to make it like based on like an idea and a concept, but it's still... I think the other part is, and this comes from people that have just worked with Takahashi, that just says he hates doing the same thing twice at that level. Like, obviously he's done certain ideas twice. You look at Xenoblade 2, and it's just, there's so much shit that I've seen before that it's like, oh, I've seen that before. Like, okay. Like, it's everywhere. But to that level, the only time that ever happened was Xenosaga DS, and there was an ulterior motive for that, and that was working with the hardware and getting to know one of the writers. And I think Namco had something to do with it. I mean, I'm sure Takahashi weren't happy to work on that, but that's a different story altogether. So yeah, that was never official that there was ever going to be 4, even internally. Mm-hmm. I think it was just an ideal thing to do. It just didn't happen. To me, the perspective of developing these games, it's so weird that I can't say whether that's a good or bad thing. Like, it's just. Everyone says, "Well, that would have been the great thing." I'm just like, trust me, I have no idea. I've seen enough to know that I have no idea. It's one of the more you know, the less you feel one way or the other about that thing. It's so. That's the best way I could say that.
Yeah, the way you talked, it's like, do you think Takahashi would have even wanted to do like all 6 games in the series?
Well, let's just make a hypothetical universe where the Xenosaga games sell. Like, they sell 3 million copies each. Let's say it's still 3 games. They make those 3 games. Mm-hmm. I don't know if after the 3rd one, if he still makes another one, because I know for a fact he's going to be so tired of it. But I could see him stopping and going back to it later. I could see that. That's what I would think would happen. That's what I think would happen. If Namco lets him, Namco might be like, man, look at this Xenosaga stuff. It's selling like crazy. Look, it prints money. You gotta make more, or else you're fired.
Get someone else on it.
Oh God, yeah. We'll get Harada on it. Actually, I don't know how Harada would do it. I think he's great. I don't know how he could do an RPG. That'd be weird. It'd just be a fighting game.
Yeah,
like, all right.
Then it was like a fighting game.
Yeah, it'd be like
I would play as Harada Xenosaga fighting game.
So, yeah, that's that. I guess I'll bring this one up now. Another one that just came off the top of my head. This one's quick. We know that Takahashi was more involved with Xenosaga DS than he was with, like, say, episode 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. But still not to some crazy degree. It was more just supervising what the writers are doing. Mm-hmm. The misconception here is that some people, I've even seen like some sites that for crediting, credit Takahashi as the director of that game. He is not the director of that game. So I can't even remember who the hell directed it anymore. I it's not that important anymore. But yeah, he did not direct it. He also did not direct Pied Piper. A fun fact: Pied Piper was not directed by a Microsoft employee. It was directed by a Namco employee.
So, yeah, besides Soria Saga, I don't really know too much about like the staff for Pied Piper.
Well, a lot of Namco. It's people were busy. Bounce Off was busy. So, okay. What's the next one? I don't even. Okay. Oh, this one. This one's actually kind of interesting. Again, there is a basis for it, and was Xenosaga 3 delayed? Because if you read about Xenoblade, you hear that one was delayed, but they act like that's the first time that game was delayed. I mean, I'm sorry, the first time that Takahashi's had one of his games delayed, and that it's never happened before. And this is a rumor mostly from Japan. This is not really a Western rumor. So there's the idea: was Xenosaga 3 delayed? Did it come out later than it was supposed to? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that's true?
In Japan or in the West?
Well, there was
we'll
like
say
a month.
both. Yeah, it was almost the same release date.
Yeah, it was like really close,
or at least almost the same release date, all things considered, compared to the other two.
Yeah.
So when by the time Xenosaga 3 had come out, I wasn't the first person to hear about it coming out. So it was just like it was a pleasant surprise after not playing Xenosaga 2 halfway through. But I am willing to believe that it may have been delayed.
Okay.
I'm not certain because I felt like the wait between like episode 1 and episode 2 was much longer than the wait between episode 2 and episode 3, but on the Japanese side of things I'm not certain.
Yeah, I'm uncertain of this one too, because on the Western front, I know there wasn't a whole lot of advertisement for Xenosaga 3. I was actually like digging through some old magazines from around the time that game came out, and there's like no mention of the game, or very little mention of it for that matter. So it is. What's up?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I do have an episode 3 ad in my hidden shrine.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. We can talk about that later. But so if it did get delayed, it wouldn't surprise me, and that would explain some of the lack of advertising for it. But at the same time, I don't know if there's really much evidence out there to support either.
Okay. Okay. I do have to ask one thing though. I got to ask you something, Tyler.
Yes.
You said you have an advertisement for it, or a flyer. Is that?
Or it was an ad from a gaming magazine.
Okay.
There's a US ad.
I gotta ask you something about that ad. It's an important question. It's the most important question we've asked on this in the history of your podcast.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Does it say stores are back?
God.
I don't remember if it said anything about stores being back.
Okay. I always thought that was the greatest thing. That was like this big like marketing campaign. Like, oh, Xenosaga 3 is this epic game. How are we going to promote this? Stores are back. It's just you could buy weapons from the store. Oh my god!
You can buy and sell.
Yeah, isn't that? It's like what a revolution! Like Microsoft has outdone themselves. Wow, I don't even know. It's just incredible. Not since Ocarina of Time has there ever been such a revolution in gaming.
You no longer have to pay off Matthew's debt with a bartering system.
Oh my goodness! All right, well, anyway, onto this. Xenosaga 3 was delayed. Well, I can say that it was never officially delayed, but speaking internally, within the deep trenches of these companies, I can say that it's sort of unofficially delayed. It was, in a way. And there is some evidence of this in the public. There's one evidence of it in the public. In a Japanese magazine. And it says, in the magazine, it has a sort of a planned release date. Not an actual, a straight-up release date, but it says when to expect the game. And it wasn't that long before the game. I think it was like maybe early 2006, maybe late 2005 that this ad came out. I'm gonna assume like 2005. And fun fact, that's the most recent beta I have of Xenosaga 3 is from late 2005. So it must have been around the time this advertisement was made, and I'm assuming that the screenshots are also. I need to go take a look at them to see if they're the same as the one from the beta I have. But so this advertisement says expect the game in spring of 2006. As we all know, it didn't come out in spring. It came out in July.
Yes.
But this is where it gets weird, because, I have the beta from late 2005, and I could tell you, and I have other builds of the game from earlier, and I can say I have no idea why the game would be delayed, because that game is, like, done. Like, there's some differences, but it's basically done. So I'm wondering, like, I know they had to add some more stuff, and some of the cutscenes just aren't there yet. So I wonder if it was delayed. I can say that it was essentially delayed, but why would they add, like, those 2 months? That's what confuses me. Or, like, a month and a half.
So there wasn't enough difference in the final build that would have warranted the extra time, you're saying?
Right.
Might have been stability.
Maybe. I mean, it's very strange. It's one, I hope one day I could just start uploading stuff from or even just, obviously, I can't just, even saying that I have it is like, I'm kind of walking on a line. Right. But I do hope one day, like, it would be Namco that would give a shit about it. And I do hope one day, like, oh, whatever. Like, because they've leaked stuff like this before and nobody's cared.
Right.
They leaked that one build of Pokemon Silver and Gold. And Nintendo didn't care.
Yeah, and some companies are fairly lenient about it. I think Capcom is actually okay with it because there's several Mega Man builds that have been released in the wild and dumped.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing with Xenoblade X, but I don't think Nintendo's ever going to let that one see the light of day. So, not that anybody would want to play it. I mean, do you really want to get in a mech right on the ground and run out of fuel in 2 minutes? Probably not.
No. Like, I wonder if maybe, I doubt it, but I wonder if maybe the American censorship might have been cause of the delay, but that shouldn't have impacted the Japanese release.
Yeah, I don't think it would have impacted anything except localization.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that's why the censorship is so janky, because they didn't have that much time to work on it. And it was kind of like last minute. It was like, oh, you got this cool shot of Albedo ripping his head off. Oh, that's great. Now we just have, like, I guess Shion's mom just doesn't have blood. I guess she's just a robot. She was a robot the whole time. Wow, what a twist.
Put what back in, Shion? Put what back in?
She's holding some screws and stuff. Can't see it.
Invisible screws.
Alright, so this next one, we could actually go through very quickly. I'm not even gonna ask, because it's a weird one. I already basically deconfirmed this in a way in my other episode. And this is, again, kind of mostly on the Japanese side, but I've seen him credited as this on GameFAQs, and it's wrong. Mm-hmm. Is Yasuki Han the art director of Xenosaga 3? No, he's not. It's Norihiro Takami. He's not credited. Nobody's credited as the art director in that game. But he's not the art director. It doesn't even make sense, because Yasuki Han was working on I always forget how this game is spelled, so I can never actually... I'm always afraid I'm not saying it right. Baiten Kaitos? Is that how you say it?
Well, I don't know how to pronounce it. I usually call it, like, Baten Kaitos, but yeah.
Yeah, I've heard saying Kaitos as well.
Well, he was doing that. He was doing Origins, which came out in Japan a few months before Xenosaga 3. He was doing that stuff.
It was around yeah, I remember that. It was around roughly the same time period. Okay.
And that's all there needs to be said about that. The next one is actually kind of fascinating. Another Japanese rumor. This one, I kind of like this one, because this one is, like, actually interesting theory. Mm-hmm. And not, like, garbage, like, You
said the G word!
Oh, shit. Do I get a cookie for that? What happens?
Yes, you get a cookie for that.
All right. I do want to say one more thing. You said something about how there was no source for having 6 episodes of Xenosaga. That's actually true, and they have said that. Mm-hmm. But
okay.
But that's, again, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, but at that point, what is 6 episodes? It's like, I bet if you asked him, if I were to, in private, if I were to go and ask him right now, he would probably say, well, that's kind of an outdated concept, and who knows, maybe it'll be this number, or maybe it'll be this number that's more or less, because it's not that simple. Like, 6 was like, I feel like he probably regrets coming up with an actual number.
Okay.
So it's not as important as you think it is, but it is worth pointing out, because, you know,
Okay.
there's a lot of stuff in there. One other fun thing I'm going to point out about that, actually, is that I believe the first time he ever mentioned the number 6 in regards to that series, he didn't say 6 episodes. He said 6 games, not episodes.
Ooh.
Now, get ready for some galaxy brain shit right here. Get ready for the greatest plot twist in any Xeno game. He said 6 games, not 6 episodes. Xenosaga Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, Xenosaga Freaks, Xenosaga DS, and Xenosaga Pied Piper. 6 games.
Oh my god.
Fuck!
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, for sure.
You fucking got us.
Fucking got us!
Well, anyway.
Nice.
Obviously, I'm making a joke, because in case someone out there is being incredible, taking this way too seriously. But
It's like they're writing hate mail to us right now.
Jeez.
How dare you say there's 6 games? Oh, man.
so the next one, which I said was interesting, is that it's again, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. I feel like no one has actually. I don't think I've ever heard an English fan ever bring this up as a theory, or at least not word it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that Suo Uzuki is not Shion's real father.
What?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah, you guys, I already know. He goes like, that sounds preposterous. Who's making shit up? Like, stop it.
This fanfiction hour?
Now, there's a I can't. The thing is that I'm gonna say it's not true just because it's never in the game. It's never even like alluded to, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it might be true. It might be one of those things that. Remember when I said Xenosaga 3? If it were, if it had like under a different opportunity or an impossible opportunity, it'd be like bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be shocked if that was a storyline in that game. And that's, I mean, I don't know. I have some, like, I've seen. I hate when I have to word it this way. I've seen some stuff that would have been in some of these games that never made it in, but I've never seen this one. But I haven't seen everything, so I wouldn't be shocked if it were there. But the reason why this exists is because in the data materials,
Mm-hmm.
they straight up. There's a section where they talk about Shion's parents, and this is before you ever really see them properly in the third game. Obviously, this book came out after the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how Shion's mother looks almost 100% identical to Shion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if maybe this was translated at some point. I don't know if it ever was. If it has been, it's probably just completely just gone now. You probably lost to the depths of internet hell. But in that little section, they say that Shion looks so much like her mother. And again, this is the book that says this. I'm not making this shit up. That the idea that she was actually just cloned from her mother can't be ruled out.
Yeah, definitely not.
And the reason why that's kind of why people might theorize this is that obviously Shion's mother is sick because of of her bloodline, and we all know some Ormus guys were involved with her father, and we all know Ormus is incredibly religious, and what else would they want than to try to carry that bloodline?
Oh, fuck!
Okay, that's interesting.
But again, that's a theory. But I'm trying to justify why this theory would exist. I'm not trying to say that that's what I think. I don't. I don't think anything, because it was never brought up, so.
I mean, it's less ludicrous than how you... Yeah, the more you explain it.
It's the least ludicrous thing on this list, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So, the next one is actually very recent, but I have to throw it in the Xenosaga section just because it is still Xenosaga. So, the Namco trademark also struck Zarathustra recently.
Oh, yeah.
Did that actually happen, or did somebody make that up? Oh, no, it did happen.
Yeah, it did happen.
It may or may not related to Xenosaga.
That, yes. Yeah, it's not certain whether it's Xenosaga related or not.
Well, I'm going to say, someone that knows people at Namco, that I have no idea what this was for. Shocker, something I don't know. So now some people, I guess there's been Xenosaga HD rumors for about 5 years now.
Oh, yeah.
Those come from Harada bringing up, would you like to see that? That's how it started.
Yeah, I remember that, so...
Mm-hmm.
I hate it so much.
So he said that.
So tired.
It didn't really... I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about where it comes from, because otherwise don't read too much into this, but I can't really talk about it.
Mm.
But the actual reason why people believe this is a thing is that, and Cosmos and Xenoblade 2 didn't help. And then now this trademark thing doesn't help.
No.
If you were to ask me why that was trademarked, I feel, and this is like way in the dark, I feel like it had something to do with Telos being in Xenoblade 2. But I don't know if that's... Because she's only in that game.
Oh, that's true.
I don't... But that's a shot in the dark. I don't... It might not be that. It could be something else. But
yeah, because otherwise they didn't like trademark the other 2 episode subtitles either, so it makes you wonder.
Yeah,
or as far as I know, they didn't.
Yeah, Talos only existed as her character was created. That's one character you could say was created a while back. I mean, she was made in 2001, so that's quite a while before episode 3. But yeah, like I think that's my assumption. I did make a joke that it was for a Xenosaga episode 3 pachinko machine. That it would be like the Metal Gear Solid 3 pachinko machine, where it looks amazing, and it's just this big tease of like, wow, this could be so cool, but it's just a pachinko machine. It's just, what a waste.
Gosh.
I mean, after all, Evangelion got pachinko machines. Just saying.
But Evangelion there's Evangelion everything. There's Evangelion toothbrushes. Like,
yeah, but Evangelion is Xenogears. They're the same game.
Oh, I'm sorry. Evangelion is too artistic for that kind of stuff. Yeah, I forgot. You can't make Evangelion toothbrushes. I'm sorry. If you have one of those, you should be ashamed of yourself. If your toothbrush has if it's in the shape of like Shinji's head, I'm sorry. You're a bad person with bad taste, apparently. My goodness.
Jesus Christ.
This is one I didn't write down, but I guess. Wow, I suddenly forgot what I was going to say. Because I have the thought of a toothbrush shaped like Shinji in my mind. I can't get it out.
It's a cursed image there.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I guess this was a question or something I was going to clarify. I totally forgot. About the script being finished in 99 for Xenosaga or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's something funny. The script for Xenosaga, for what you saw, for the entirety of what you saw, at least the first draft, not even final script, the first draft of it, was finished after the first episode came out. So when the first episode came out, the first draft wasn't even done.
Oh,
if you really need to know just how parts of what Takahashi does are on the fly, he didn't finish the first draft until about 7 months after the first game came out. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, there's tons of stuff that's different. Like, let's look at episode 3, for example. Just Padea Island, when she's there and she's in like her little beach house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even that was different. Like that, she wasn't in a beach house. The original screenplay had her. Well, I can't say it's not from. I don't think it's from Takahashi's screenplay. I think this was just. Again, the first draft. It's very like a first draft is almost too nice of a way to describe that thing. But
Yikes!
but I'm not trying to be, insulting about it.
Yeah,
but it's,
yeah.
a lot of it is still partly an outline.
Mhm.
But there's no beach house. She's in an abandoned spaceship, not a beach house. That was the original idea for it.
That would have been cool.
But it eventually became a beach house. I think you could go inside. I'm pretty sure you were able to go inside the spaceship originally. I think that was like part of like the illustrations for it. But anyway, that's that. I'm not touching that anymore.
All right.
I'm almost at the end of these, actually. It's not that many for Xenoblade. But I'm sure I'll remember something.
Yeah, I couldn't even think of anything for Xenoblade, so I'd definitely like to hear what you have.
Oh, that just shows you how horrible that fandom was at the time. Just, man, the Wild West days of the internet. Some people miss them, but as far as Xeno goes, I don't miss them at all. Not that I'm enjoying myself now. I mean, I'm enjoying myself doing this list, to be honest, but I just mean on a general basis. Like, goodness. So, this is one where, again, there's a source for this. Iwata changed the name Monada Beginning of a New World to Xenoblade. Apparently, he's the one that did that. What do you guys think of that? You think that's true?
I remember hearing that. I don't recall my source.
There's a source. It's official. It was written on Nintendo's site.
Okay.
Wasn't that in an Iwata Asks?
No, it was in it wasn't an Iwata Asks. It was like a business call or something, and that's when they announced it. Very weird time to do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I guess, people will see that there, and it must be true. I'm not gonna say it's 100% not true. I'm gonna say it's 95% not true, even though it's on an official damn site. And it's because it's only on Nintendo of America's site.
Oh?
On their business call. The original business call, the Japanese one, which that was the first one I read for that.
Mm-hmm.
No mention of Iwata changing anything. I believe it still kind of alludes to honoring Takahashi with the name, but even that just feels weird. Obviously, Takahashi has given a different explanation for the name Xenoblade, and every time you ask him why it's called this, he has given a different answer. Like, this dude cannot come up with an answer. He says, well, there's the idea of something foreign and mysterious. And then the next time he'll say, this is the idea of different cultures coming together that are all foreign to each other. And then another time he'll say, well, you want people to know that this is by the same director. He's had so many different answers. It's not a big deal. I'm sure there's some truth in all of that. But I really wish he would just come clean and say, it just sounds cool, and I gotta keep my market somehow. But, yeah, that's that. The next one is... The next one is, you probably haven't seen it that much. I've seen it more than I'd like to, but still not that much, but it's enough for me to want to put it here.
Mm-hmm.
Xenoblade X is meant to be 6, or at the very least, multiple parts. Like 6 episodes.
That's cute.
I don't think I heard that one.
I definitely want to believe that Xenoblade X will have more than one, but I haven't heard anything like that at all.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a rumor, or theory, or rabbit, or whatever.
Well, yeah, I've seen this from multiple people, but there was a time where I was looking for stuff. I was looking for information. Believe it or not, I actually enjoyed doing side quests in Xenoblade X. What a shock. That's like 90% of the game. 90% of the game, here's 90% of Xenoblade X. The side quests and side stories, and the map and the art direction. That's Xenoblade X. Like, it's art direction of the game. Like, it's...
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So this whole thing, it's not true, but there's no evidence of this, and it's not true. It's just, again, these projects are usually, they're always made out of self-indulgence to a certain extent, and with, like this thing, I was looking for stuff, and I keep seeing people, you have a lot to look forward to. This is the beginning, the first of 6 episodes. And just, hyping this up, like, it's just, again, sniffing the mystery, you're sniffing the aura, and it's it's getting to your brain. It's making you're not thinking right, and it's making.
You see my hands.
Yeah, it's like that the picture of the one dude leaning on the wall. Why the fuck you lying? That's like me perpetually at this fandom. But I remember seeing this thing, and I saw it on GameFAQs like 3 times. I saw it on Reddit, and then I started to realize something. Almost every instance of me seeing this, it was the same guy saying it on every site. The same person. I'm not going to say his name or her name. I don't know, but it's if you're listening to this, you got to stop. I'm asking you. You please, if just do it for me. I know I don't come off as the nicest guy, but just if you stop, it'll be one less time I'll say I hate Xeno, and I haven't said that in like 3 months. I'm on a streak right now. I haven't said that in 3 months. So if you want to keep me in a good place, please stop, because it's not true. I'm telling you matter of factly, it is not true. And this is the last one I have written down. Who knows what I'll think of as we go on. But, I mean, we've been doing this for a while, so.
Yeah.
Did Takahashi say that he wants to or is going to make Xenoblade X2 and Xenoblade 3?
You sure I wasn't paying attention? I'm in the news. It was like during my Twitter break.
Wasn't the release of, was it the Xenoblade 2 soundtrack, or it was something right. Random where he was like, yeah,
it was the soundtrack.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
So, obviously, you're probably all expecting me to say, well, of course it's true. It's in the soundtrack. I just confirmed it.
But
it's not true. Takahashi did not say that. However, somebody did say that, but it wasn't
Who
Takahashi.
did it?
I believe. No, it. Now I'm forgetting who said it. I'm 90% sure it was Kokujima. He was basically the primary subdirector, which means it doesn't mean as much as you think it was. Yeah, if it wasn't Takahashi, I can't take it that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to say what he's working on next. But if it's not one of those things. And you're someone's screaming about it. I'm gonna sit on my high horse on the size of the Empire State Building, looking down and saying, why did you believe that? Why did you buy into it so much? Like, you should know better. And then
You're your high horse.
Yeah, it's just, I don't like saying that, but it's just, that's. After a while, you have enough, and you just have to accept that's how it's just how I am at this point, unfortunately. And that's it for my list. I'm sure there's other ones I could come up with, but there's definitely some more I could have wrote down, but I don't even want to talk about them because 1, can of worms, or 2, can't talk about them, or 3, they make me so aggravated that I can only put so much things that cause like awful feelings inside of me at once.
Okay.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for providing that list. It was, a lot more complex than my list was.
It actually had a lot of the ones that we wrote down on our little list.
Yeah.
I see one that we haven't yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Xenosaga is a continuation of Xenogears.
Oh, that.
I mean, we kind of touched on it a tiny bit.
Not a whole lot.
I mean, this goes back to the whole. It doesn't really exist, so what can you even say about it except for theories?
Right.
But again, it's just. I mean, Takahashi has said, I think, because people keep bringing it up in interviews toward him, more so his producers, and his producers are always going to give the answer of to keep the interest in. And then I remember at one point in maybe 2001, he just said, "Xenogears is not a sequel." I mean, I'm sorry. I know everyone thinks that Xenosaga is a part or a sequel to Xenogears or something like that. And he said, it's not, it's a new story. But that's obviously not enough for a lot of people. And I kind of, I understand that. I acknowledge that some people.
And then the one rumor that you mentioned earlier about the Shion artwork, being part of Xenogears, that probably didn't help those rumors either.
Of course, yeah. But again, I keep using the word can of worms. If I say one thing, I got to bring up another thing and another thing and another thing, and there's gonna be some people that are so passionate about believing that it is or isn't, and just some people just aren't. I mean, this is a thing outside of Xeno, but some people just aren't willing to accept the fact that they don't know shit, and I mean, there's stuff that even I'm not sure about, and I'm perfectly willing to say, well, I don't know. It's just there's nothing wrong with just sometimes saying I don't know, and you could have your theories, but this is the Xeno fans seem to have a tendency to betray what they believe as absolute fact and pressing that, and that's where a lot of this comes from. That's where I get frustrated. I don't care about I can't say I don't care about theories. There's a lot of them that are really bad. You guys have put out some heinous stuff, but I mean, it's better than saying something and acting like it's true. That will always be my number one gripe. That is my number one gripe with Xeno. I mean, aside from one other thing that I'm not going to bring up, but as far as the fandom goes, that's my number one gripe. It's one of the big reasons why you don't see me in any communities or forums or anything. It's just, it's tough for me to have a conversation, because even the smallest, most innocent thing, when they say it, and it might be the most inconsequential like rumor or thing to say, and it's still it just bothers me personally. Like, it just, it's one of the, between always being that way and getting to know people who worked on the games, it's only, for me, it's only gotten worse. And yeah, it's been a strange experience, especially these past 3 years of just, getting to know some of these people. It's really, it's been so bizarre, because I never saw that happening. And it just kind of happened. It's, again, I probably, every time, it feels so awkward bringing that up, just because I feel like when I say that, it makes me sound like all high and mighty, and I don't want people to feel that way.
Yeah, but if somebody truly believes that a rumor is true, to the point of where their critical thinking skills are just oh, this could not be true, but I refuse to even look at it because it being true in my heart is so much more important than the actual truth. But I really do think that it's important for people to be able to think critically about things that they love, because that's just a natural survival skill. And if you don't develop that, you end up with a lot of other problems in your life.
Yeah, I think another thing is because Xeno it's not a real series. It's I call it a metaseries, or I'll put Xeno in quotations for good reason.
Right.
I think people need to accept that these are all different series. It might be seen as a spiritual series or a metaseries or something, but at the end of the day, these are different properties, and these are, internally speaking, it's not seen, these are all seen as different, completely different properties internally within the company. It's not seen as anything other than that. So, and it's always been that way. It's been that way since they went to Xenosaga. They did not see it as a singular thing. It was already seen. This is a totally new thing. That was always the way it was for people working on it. And it's, again, I'm not saying that devalues certain things that people think. It's just, I think it's important to remember that sometimes. I think people, you don't have to shoehorn everything in together. It's not. It's okay to like your thing. If you haven't played, Xenogears or Xenosaga, you want to play Xeno, that's fine. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not the same series. I mean, I would recommend checking it out if you just want more from Takahashi. I think I would always recommend checking out something from the same director, even if it's really different. But it's not and same thing with vice versa. There's some people who aren't going to like the same thing. It's fine. I've never cared about what people liked and didn't like.
I do have one thing that's sort of not a rumor itself, but dealing with rumors and trying to stop rumors, or just some game devs are brave enough to be out on places like social media and Twitter, and I love Soraya Saga. She has been I've looked up to her since I was 16 years old. 21 years ago, I guess now, and I see a lot of people a lot. Soraya Saga tweets anything, and people are like, "When's Xenosaga?" or "When's Xenoblade?" And like people don't seem to understand or have gotten any kind of PSA on what a non-disclosure agreement is, and I feel like it's not a thing that is in our culture. I'm not sure if it's in Japanese culture, but we need to start learning things like this if we're going to be trying to interact with game devs on social media.
Yeah, and it's definitely, there's some of that is in the Japanese fandom. Let's say, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that there's rumors, but let's just say, some people will bring, I would love a Xenogears remake or something. That's not a thing that's exclusive to like the English fandom. Like that's everywhere. Like it's not. I'm not. I always probably sound like I'm like the Japanese fandom is so much better and it's perfect. It's not. There's some stuff. It's usually not to the same degree, but there's definitely stuff there as well.
Yeah, it's always unfortunate whenever she like tweets something that's just has nothing to do with Xeno, and people are like, "Is this a hint for something? What is this? What does this mean?"
Every once in a while, she will just drag the stupid person who poked at her wrong, and it's you get what you deserved, person.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to hold myself back from doing some. I'm not going to use the word tasteless, but I like me. I should post like some soundtracks she's listening to, and I'll be like, "Oh, you guys, she posted the Black Panther soundtrack. Confirm all this licensed music. It's gonna be in Xenoblade X2. You're gonna get more hip hop."
People can't read sarcasm flat thing at all on the internet. I guess it's like it's the lack of auditory inflection. People just can't process sarcasm to begin with because they're not trained socially in it. And like I have a lot of trouble with sarcasm when it's just online too, but usually I've gotten better with my critical thinking. So when I hear something absolutely ridiculous, I'm like, wait. Because you say a lot to me online, Pure. You can't just say that.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Oh, there's been a couple times where I've made a dry joke, and you can't just say that.
Oh, I do it all the time now.
Yeah, it's a funny joke.
I mean, I probably should have thrown in one more in the rumor hole. Should have thrown in one more.
Do you have it up?
Oh, you want me to ask right now? Yeah, I'll throw a last right now. It's the only important question. It's the most blasphemous one of them all. Is Michael McConaughey not the greatest voice actor of all time?
Yes, he is.
It's true. This one's true, guys.
The answer is yes.
I don't think I could handle being in his physical presence.
He is pretty amazing.
He's great. We should just do a whole episode dedicated to him. It won't have anything to do with Xeno. It'll just be everything else.
I'll just show up to listen to it being recorded and just be like, yes, yes.
So do we have anything else that we want to add to the myths and mysteries list? Or
I'm not sure if I'm brave enough.
If you're brave enough
to see more, I don't know. Yeah, well, again, other than like weird meme ones, like how the only Xeno games Pure likes are Xenogears and Xenosaga Episode 1. Is that one true? I don't know if that one's true. Maybe that one is true. I don't know.
It's a question you have to ask yourself.
I don't know. I look at myself in the mirror. I don't know who I'm looking at.
All right. Well, maybe it'd be a good to just end it here.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you very much for everyone coming today, and thank you very much for that list, Pure. I'm just kind of afraid that we wouldn't have enough to talk about, but we definitely had enough to talk about.
We always have enough to talk about when I'm around. When it's it's just an endless. Look, I'm looking at our Audacity. I'm looking at disk space remaining for recording. 84 hours and 26 minutes. Tyler, we have the whole week. We could do this. I guess we have to be here for that amount of time.
Oh, but I only have 55 hours left, so we'd have to cut it a little short.
Well, that's all right. I'm here for the next 2 days, so that's fine.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yes, yes. So hopefully hopefully people learned a lot from this episode and will think twice about sharing any of these misconceptions in the future.
Who are we kidding? They're going to continue.
Yeah. This is...
now more people will just hate me. That's fine.
No.
Oh, you know what? Somebody got really upset at me because I said something... Again, this just makes the only games Pure likes, or those two games. I had something to say about Xenogears. I have something critical to say about literally everything that Takahashi's ever touched. And I said something about Xenogears, and someone got very, very upset at me. Very upset.
Oh, dear.
And I remember just thinking, like, you just can't win. Apparently, I only like those two games. And then I say one thing, and it's like, Pure, you're just a hater.
Well, no.
Go back to your, I bet you only like the Xenoblade games. And it's like, oh my god.
Oh, jeez. you just need to embrace being a heel.
Oh, I used to do that. Oh, good lord. If I were, like, if I, like 9 years ago, I was not nearly... I didn't care nearly as much as getting down that level of rabbit hole.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know anyone from any of these companies. I only knew like one person from Namco like 9 years ago. And it would have been so bad. Like, I can't even say the stuff that I used to say just to get on the people's skin out loud on this podcast because it wouldn't be advertiser friendly anymore. It would be, like, I still embrace the heel role a little bit. Like, I don't really care about, how upset some people get, but I do also understand that, I also get frustrated with certain things, and I don't want to create a bad environment.
Yeah.
And I've also mellowed out significantly, so not as mean spirited as I used to be.
Trying not to be mean.
To be fair, I never went up to anyone. They usually had it coming. So. Tune in next time for a big list of. All the things that happened between Production with Pure episode 1 and 2. The sheer amount of things that happened between them. Torna came out. I still haven't played it.
Oh.
And that's how busy I've been. You'd think I'd be all over. It's basically new Xeno content. I have to know everything because I'm that weirdo. And I have to know everything about everything Takahashi has his name on. And yeah, I haven't had a chance. I have more time now. But I'll probably play it soon. But of course, I really want to work on that one project I'm gonna have already kind of planned out. It's very odd to be excited to work on something Xeno related, but I'm actually really excited for that. And I'll definitely, when it's all done, I'll definitely be sharing it.
Yeah, sure. And we'll plug it on here too.
I'd look forward to it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. So this has been XenoChat. Next episode, we're actually going to be recording it next weekend. It'll be the Ziggy episode, so that'll be exciting. Sounds like we're going to have a big panel on that one, aren't we?
Yeah. Promise not to, ruin everything by talking too much.
No, it's okay. So that'll be exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of delve into Pied Piper as well. So that'll be interesting. Then after that, I don't think we have anything really planned out because I'm going to be leaving on a trip in the next week or so. So we'll probably be on a little bit of a hiatus, but I'll try to have these episodes out hopefully before my trip, but if not, I'll at least have one or two of them out because we're kind of swimming in episodes at the moment.
Luck
But
and have fun and be safe.
oh yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to Japan, so I'm gonna, see if I can, just stand creepily outside of Monolith Soft across the street or something, just so I can see the building and feel good.
Sit in the aura of the building.
Yes.
Take it in. Absorb power.
This is like the closest I'll be to Takahashi in my lifetime. All right. So, let's, if there's anything you guys want to plug or anything, just let us know. Just start with Justin.
So, I guess with me, I was in a Let's Play recently. My friend has a channel called Retro Roulette, where they play random retro games. And if they like them, they'll continue to play them. Right now, they currently have a Donkey Kong 64 playthrough going on, and it's driving my friend up a wall. I was in their Mischief Makers episode, and we did a full playthrough of that. So if you guys like listening to me talk here, then you get to see me play through all the Mischief Makers on their channel.
Love that
so check
game.
that out. Yeah, it's a fun one. It's cute. It's a cute little N64 channel.
Yes.
But yeah, otherwise, that's pretty much the big thing that's happened with me recently.
All right, Kat?
I'm just continually deconstructing and reconstructing my ability to draw. I I recently sort of like collapsed and then re-expanded my website. I am catamus.smugmug.com now, and I just dump sketches periodically. More than recently, so yeah.
Cool. All right, Pure, is there any... Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Pure, is there anything you want to share or social media or anything like that?
Well, I am at Burning Aegis everywhere, but the only one that you'll care about is at Burning Aegis on Twitter. This project I'm working on won't be under that name, most likely, but you'll see it on my feed on Twitter. I'm trying to think that I am going to, I might stream it. I don't know if it'll be streamed by me or I'll just be on it. I'll be, doing a 100% no-hit run of Mega Man X. But
Nice.
I have no idea where that'll be streamed or if it'll be on one of my streams or what's going on with that. And I don't even know. It might be a different game at some point. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff in the air because, yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, that you'll see that on my Twitter at some point too. So again, at Burning Aegis on Twitter. That's what you want to follow if you want to follow me.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. And yeah, I'm at Cosmos Chaos on Twitter. I don't really have anything going on professionally, or I don't really have much going on at the moment.
Honestly, though, if you like anybody interested in Xeno in general that follows your feed, they'll get quality reblogs.
Wait, what?
For your feed, if anybody who's just like wants like a quality like, oh, what's up in Xeno, I'll just go to your Twitter page and look through your reblogs. So it's like, oh yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I post maybe a bit too much Xeno stuff. I post all that stuff sometimes, but yeah. All right. Well, thank you once again for everyone being here for today. I really appreciated it, and it was a really good talks. But yeah, have a good night, everybody.
Take care.